So far in this series, we've examined the Bible from the inside out. We've looked at its internal consistency. We've examined the manuscript evidence that shows how carefully its text was preserved. But there's another question we haven't fully answered yet. What do writers outside the Bible have to say? Historians call these external sources non-Christian, non-biblical writings that reference Jesus, early Christians, and the world described in Scripture. These sources weren't written to support Christianity. Many of them are neutral, some are openly hostile. And yet when we place them side by side, they confirm something remarkable. They tell us that Jesus was a real historical figure, that he was executed under the authority of Pilate, that his followers worshipped him as divine from the beginning, that Christianity spread rapidly throughout the Roman world, and that early Christians were willing to suffer and even die rather than deny what they believed. These writers didn't agree with Christianity, but they confirmed that the story existed from the very start. One of the most important voices comes from the Roman historian Tacitus. Writing near the end of the 1st century, Tacitus describes Emperor Nero's persecution of Christians following the fire of Rome. He explains that the name Christian comes from Christus, who suffered the extreme penalty during the reign of Tiberius at the hands of the governor Pilate. Tacitus had no sympathy for Christians. He mocked their beliefs. Yet without realizing it, he confirmed the core framework of the gospel accounts, that Jesus lived, that he was executed by crucifixion, and that his followers had already spread as far as Rome. Another Roman voice comes from Pliny the Younger, a governor who wrote directly to Emperor Trajan asking how to deal with Christians under his authority. Pliny describes believers who met regularly before dawn, who sang hymns to Christ as to a god, and who bound themselves to lives of moral integrity. Their refusal to worship Roman gods or the emperor brought suspicion and punishment. From Pliny, we learn that Christians worshiped Jesus as divine, that their movement was widespread by the early 2nd century, and that their faith shaped how they lived, even when it cost them. Suetonius, another Roman historian, briefly mentions disturbances in Rome connected to someone called Chrestus, along with punishments inflicted on Christians under Nero. Even in passing, his words confirm that Christianity was already a recognized and disruptive presence within the empire. Then there is Josephus, a Jewish historian writing in the 1st century. Josephus refers to James as the brother of Jesus who is called the Christ. He also describes Jesus as a real person who was crucified under Pontius Pilate, whose followers continued after his death. Although later scribes added Christian language to one passage, scholars agree the core references are authentic. Josephus was not a Christian, yet he confirms the foundational historical details. Later, Jewish writings, often critical or hostile, still acknowledge that Jesus lived, that he performed unusual deeds, that he was executed, and that his followers persisted. They rejected his claims, but not his existence. Other ancient writers echo the same pattern. A Syrian philosopher named Mara bar Serapion refers to the execution of a wise king of the Jews. Lucian of Samosata mocks Christians for worshiping a crucified man. Greek and Syrian sources describe Christians as a growing and distinct movement. None of these writers embrace Christianity. And yet, together, they confirm the same historical framework recorded in the New Testament. When we combine Roman historians, Roman governors, Jewish historians, Greek satirists, and Syrian philosophers, a consistent picture emerges. Jesus lived in the 1st century. He was crucified under Pilate. His followers worshipped him as divine. Christianity spread rapidly and widely. Christians were known for moral devotion. They were persecuted for their beliefs. And those beliefs were firmly established early. This tells us something important. Christianity was not a legend that developed centuries later. It was a movement rooted in real people, real places, and real conviction, exactly when the New Testament says it was. The Bible's world is not isolated. It is woven into the fabric of history, confirmed even by those who did not believe its message. Historical documents can tell us the Bible is reliable. Manuscripts can tell us it was preserved. Archaeology can tell us it is accurate. External sources can tell us it is real. But there is another form of evidence, one that cannot be excavated, translated, or carbon dated: the impact this book has had on the world. For thousands of years, across every continent and in every major language, the Bible has shaped legal systems, moral frameworks, literature, art, music, education, scientific motivation, concepts of human rights, charitable institutions, and movements for abolition and justice. Even people who reject belief in God live in societies profoundly shaped by biblical ideas. But the influence of Scripture goes deeper than culture. Across time and geography, from Roman soldiers to medieval kings, from enslaved people to modern refugees, from hardened criminals to grieving parents, millions testify to the same experience. They encountered Scripture, and it brought hope where despair ruled, conviction where wrongdoing was hidden, comfort in suffering, forgiveness where bitterness once lived, purpose where life felt empty. Peace no philosophy could replicate. This is not the influence of a myth, or a legend, or a merely human book. It is the influence of something living. Jesus once said, "The words I speak to you are spirit and life." Across centuries, countless people have agreed, not because they were told to, but because they encountered something that changed them from the inside out. The Bible did not remain locked in ancient scrolls. It spread through homes and villages, empires and nations. It crossed oceans, cultures, and languages. A book written by shepherds, fishermen, and exiles went on to shape universities, hospitals, and democracies. Its words have been whispered in prisons, read in trenches, sung in fields, preached in catacombs, and memorized by those who risked their lives to preserve it. No other ancient document, philosophical, religious, or literary, has transformed the world with this kind of breadth, depth, and endurance. That transformation is evidence in itself. It suggests the Bible is not only accurate, it is alive. Historical records can tell us where the Bible came from, but the lives it has changed tell us something about what it is. Across 2,000 years of history, the same pattern appears again and again. People encounter Scripture, and something shifts within them. This transformation is not limited to one culture, one language, one era, or one social class. It appears everywhere, even in places where the Bible has been banned. Let's look at a few powerful examples. A brilliant philosopher, restless and divided within himself, encounters a single line from Romans: "Put aside the deeds of darkness and walk in the light." His conversion reshapes Western theology and philosophy. A restless mind becomes a voice of peace. A slave trader, hardened by violence and greed, encounters Scripture and is utterly transformed. He becomes a pastor, an abolitionist, and the author of Amazing Grace, the hymn of a man who knew the depth of his own redemption. Inspired by Scripture, William Wilberforce spends decades fighting the global slave trade, changing the destiny of millions. In the 20th century, when Christianity was outlawed in certain nations, Scripture spread in secret, copied by hand, memorized in whispers, shared at great risk. The result was explosive growth, radical forgiveness, and joy under pressure. After apartheid, leaders leaned heavily on biblical themes of justice and forgiveness. Victims forgave their oppressors, publicly, tearfully, astonishingly. This was not theory. It was Scripture lived out. Former addicts, prison inmates, trauma survivors, people crushed by guilt and shame. Across the world, they tell the same story. Scripture brought stability, identity, healing, purpose, new life. These are not isolated accounts. They form a pattern, repeated millions of times, a pattern suggesting that the Bible is not merely read, it reads us. One of the most remarkable features of Scripture is not only the lives it has changed, but the forces it has survived. So far, we've seen that Christianity did not emerge in a vacuum. It was rooted in real history, confirmed by outside sources, and carried forward by lives transformed in profound ways. But this raises an important question. If this movement was built on compassion, moral integrity, and devotion, why was it so fiercely opposed? Why did Roman authorities view early Christians as a threat? Why were believers imprisoned, tortured, and executed, not for violence, but for faith? And why did attempts to destroy Christianity only seem to strengthen it? In the next video, we'll explore how and why Christians came to be seen as dangerous to empires, to rulers, and to systems built on power and control. If you found this series thoughtful or meaningful, consider subscribing. It helps others find these conversations and allows us to continue examining these questions together. This is the Bible real? And the story isn't over yet.